Hi guys, welcome to part two. We're going to get into this really quickly. The one thing that I do want to iterate is the fact that as we go through the introduction and the characters that are involved in all this research, the person that I was actually channeling raw, there was a long procedure of the things that she had to do to make herself very rested, very comfortable, and make the environment very clean in her meditative state in order to channel raw. And so, some of the things that they don't really make clear, I don't think, in the intro, is the things that she had to go through. And you hear it more and more as the interview and the channeling goes on. You know, they had to have a very solid routine almost beckon Ra in. And she also had to drink water that was positively charged. They lit incense, like smudging, for the atmosphere around her, the clothes that she had to wear. Her setup was very in depth, and they don't really explain that, I don't think, in the introduction, or explain why she had to go through such a process to be made extremely comfortable. Because when you channel someone in, the environment had to be almost perfect. Her head had to be a certain way, things in the room had to be lined up a certain way. And even though you can channel without having to go through all these processes that she did, the reason why they put so much effort into it is because they wanted a clear channel to speak with Ra. And so they were not leaving any stone unturned, because it was exhausting for her to be able to channel this being. And they had to actually really take care of her health and her diet and her clothes and her mental state in order to get a clear channel. So they didn't really explain, I don't think, that much in the readings and in the books, but that's something I personally know about channeling and being able to channel. So I don't think they even knew that at the time, why they had to go through all the processes. And I'll get into the water in a later state about what the water was about that she had to drink. But anyway, let's get into part two.
When Uri Geller performs on TV, mentally bending metal and fixing clocks, there are often many kids who try to duplicate Uri's tricks. Sometimes the kids succeed. The number of children that can cause bends and breaks in metal and other materials just by wanting the break or bend to occur is increasing daily. As previously mentioned, John Taylor, professor of mathematics at King's College, reports in his excellent book, Superminds, on the extensive tests run in England on several of these gifted children. If the Geller-rising children continue to increase in numbers and ability, the 1980s will see such fantasies of TV as My Favorite Martian, I Dream of Jeannie, and Bewitched becoming a part of reality. With controlled, repeatable experiments like those conducted by Taylor and by the Stanford Research Institute in the United States, we begin to have good solid data available for study. Gradually we are moving into a position from which we can begin to create a science of magic, for that which has been called magic through the ages is now being performed at an ever-increasing rate, primarily by children. In the future, we may even find this magic added to the curriculum of the sciences or to universities. In point of fact, the present disciplines of chemistry, physics, etc., are still basically magic to us, since we are still in the position of having no ultimate explanation of causality. Carla, one of the concepts most central to the system of study which comes out of research into the contactee messages offered by alleged UFO contact, is the concept of the immortality of our individual consciousness. There is a long mystical tradition extending back far beyond biblical times, which posits a type of immortal soul. St. Paul in his epistles has distinguished between the human body and the spiritual body. Long before St. Paul's century, Egyptian priests had the concept of the Ka and posited that this Ka, or spiritual personality, existed after death and was the true repository of the essence of consciousness of the person who had lived the life. Egyptians, of course, made very elaborate arrangements for life after death. If life after death is posited as a probability, one may also posit life before birth. Any mother who has more than one child will testify to the undoubted fact that each child comes into his life or incarnation already equipped with a personality which cannot be explained by environment or heredity. After all the factors of both have been accounted for, there remains a unique personality with which the child seems to have been born. Each child has certain fears which are not explainable in terms of the fears of the parents. A child, for instance, may be terrified of a thunderstorm. The rest of the family may be perfectly comfortable during such a storm. Another child may be extraordinarily gifted at the playing of an instrument when neither parent nor any relative as far back as the parents can remember had musical ability. This brings us back to the serious consideration of reincarnation. According to the alleged UFO contact messages, reincarnation is one of the most important concepts to be grasped, for through it the universe functions in order to advance the evolution of mankind. This evolution is seen to be not only physical but also metaphysical, not only of the body but also of the spirit. And incarnations are seen in this system of philosophy to be opportunities for an individual to continue his evolution through numerous and varied experiences. Although perhaps 2/3 of the world's population embraces, or is familiar with a religious system which posits reincarnation, those of us of the Judeo-Christian culture are not as familiar with this concept. Nevertheless, Don's early investigations seemed to indicate that reincarnation was a probability and that incarnations contained situations, relationships, and lessons which were far more easily understood in the light of knowledge of previous incarnations. One succinct example of this relationship, which some are fond of calling karma, is that of a young boy who requests that his name not be used, who in this life had experienced such intense allergies to all living things that he could not cut the grass, smell the flowers, or, during the blooming season, spend much time at all outside. Under hypnotic regression he experienced in detail a long life in England. He had been a solitary man whose nature was such as to avoid contact with any human being. He had inherited a fairly large estate and he spent his life upon it. His one pleasure was the very extensive garden that he maintained. In it he had his gardeners plant all manner of flowers, fruits, and vegetables. After the life had been discussed, and while the lad was still in trance, hypnotist Lawrence Allison asked the boy, as he often did, to contact what is loosely referred to as his higher self. He had the boy ask his higher self if the lesson of putting people first and other things second had been learned. The higher self said that indeed a lesson had been learned. The hypnotist then had the boy ask the higher self if this allergy could be healed, since the lesson had been learned and the allergy was no longer necessary. The higher self agreed. The hypnotist then carefully brought the boy out of the hypnotic state and walked over to his piano on which was placed a magnolia. As magnolia blossoms will do, it had dropped its pollen on the polished surface of the piano, and the hypnotist scraped the pollen onto his hand, took it over to the boy, and deliberately blew the pollen directly at the boy's nose. "How could you do that to me?" exclaimed the boy. "You know how allergic I am." "Oh, really?" asked the hypnotist. "I don't hear you sneezing." The boy remained cured of his allergy. When we attempt to consider our relationship with the universe, we begin to see that there is a great deal more in heaven and earth than has been dreamt of in most philosophies. It is an unbelievably gigantic universe, and if we have a true relationship to it we must, ourselves, be more than, or other than, our daily lives seem to encompass. In the raw material a good deal of information is discussed concerning our true relationship with the universe, but it is good to realize that we do have a long tradition of work upon what may perhaps most simply be called the magical personality. Magic is, of course, a much misused term and is mostly understood as being the art of prestidigitation, or illusion. When one sees a magician, one accepts the fact that one is seeing very skillfully performed illusions. However, there is a study of the so-called magical personality which suggests that there is a thread which runs through our daily lives which we can grasp. And, using that thread, remove ourselves from time to time into a framework of reference points in which we see reality as being that of the spiritual body. That personality which exists from incarnation to incarnation and indeed since before the world was. By working upon this magical personality, by interiorizing experience, by accepting responsibility for all that occurs, by carefully analyzing our reactions to all that occurs, and by eventually coming to balance our reactions to all that occurs so that our actions in our environment are generated within the self and are no longer simple reactions to outward stimulus. We strengthen the so-called magical personality until we are able to have some small claim to the art of causing changes in consciousness at will. This is the classic definition of magic. Each time that a person sustains an unfortunate situation and reacts to it by not giving anger for anger or sadness for sadness but instead offering compassion and comfort where none was expected, we strengthen the thread of inner strength within us and we become more and more associated with a life that is closely related to the organic evolution of the universe. It is some sense of the wholeness or organic nature of the universe which best informs the student of the UFO's purposes in being here. They have been here, by many accounts, For thousands of years, at least UFOs have been mentioned, along with many other strange sights, in the annals of all early histories including the Bible. Modern-day interest in UFOs can probably be fairly accurately dated from Kenneth Arnold's historic sighting over Mount Rainier in Washington. Another early and historic sighting, also by an extremely reliable witness, is coincidentally connected with Don Elkins, and so I would choose the Mantell case of January 7, 1948, instead of the Kenneth Arnold case of June 24, 1947, for discussion. Thomas Mantell had trained as a pilot and had flown missions in Africa, Europe, and, most notably, D-Day. In 1947 he was out of the Air Corps and had started the Elkins Mantell Flying School on Bowman Field in Louisville, Kentucky. In 1947 Don Elkins was a youthful student in this school. At about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on January 7, 1948, the Kentucky State Police called Fort Knox and reported to the MPs there that they had sighted a circular flying object moving rather quickly in their area. The MPs called the commanding officer at Godman Field at Fort Knox, and through due process the Flight Service checked with Wright Field in Ohio to see if there were any experimental aircraft which could explain the sighting. Wright Field had none flying. Meanwhile, the tower at Godman Field, Fort Knox, had already sighted this disc-shaped object, both visually and on radar, and had made a report which was relayed quickly to the commanding officer. As it happened, 4 F-51s were in the area en route from Marietta, Georgia, near Atlanta, to Louisville, Kentucky. Since they were already airborne, the commanding officer at Godman Field decided to contact the lead pilot and request that he investigate the UFO. The lead pilot was Captain Thomas Mantell. Mantell was given a radar vector from Godman Tower and moved towards the UFO. He sighted the object and stated that it was traveling slower than he was and that he would close to take a look. Then Mantell informed the tower that the object was now above him, that it appeared to be metallic, and that it was tremendous in size. None of the F-51s, including Mantell's, was equipped with oxygen. The other pilots leveled off at 15,000 feet. Mantell kept climbing. That was the last transmission from Captain Mantell. Minutes later there was a telephone call stating that a plane had crashed. It was Captain Mantell's. His body lay near the wreckage. I could spend the length of the book attempting to give you a sketchy introduction to the thousands and thousands of sightings like Captain Mantell's that involve irrefutably puzzling and concrete evidence of something highly strange occurring. There are many radar sightings of UFOs. There is one volume, published by the Center for UFO Studies in Evanston, Illinois, which deals solely with the numerous physical traces that UFOs have left behind, either by irradiating the soil, causing other changes in soil composition, or leaving impressions in the ground. A computer set up by this same organization to carry a program of information regarding UFOs contains well over 80,000 reports, and some things become startlingly clear by the use of UFOKit, the computer. For instance, it is now possible, if one measures a landing trace from a UFO sighting, to find out from the computer what the probable description of the UFO itself will be. Thus, in a way, the witness is merely confirming what the computer already knows. However, this is an introduction to a book which consists of transcripts of messages of a very precise nature having to do with metaphysics, philosophy, and the plan of evolution, both physical and spiritual, of man on Earth. Consequently, what I propose to do is share with you some of the research material which our group has collected through the years. Since all of these examples come from the same group, we never describe who the receiver may be, as we feel that it is the information that is important rather than the person who is transmitting. According to an entity called Hatton, who has spoken with our group and several others for many years, the purpose in being here of at least some of the UFOs that are seen in our skies at this time is much like the purpose that we might have in sending aid to a disaster-stricken or extremely impoverished country. It is a desire to be of service. We have been contacting people of planet Earth for many of your years. We have been contacting at intervals of thousands of years those who sought our aid. It is time for many of the people of this planet to be contacted, for many now have the understanding and the desire to seek something outside the physical illusion that has for so many years involved the thinking of those of this planet. The process we are stimulating is one which is self-generating. As more and more of those who desire our contact receive it and pass it on to others, then those who receive this passed on information will then themselves be able to reach a state of thinking and understanding sufficiently in tune, shall I say, with our vibrations in order to receive our contact. For this, my friends, is how contacts work. It is first necessary, if the entity is to be able to receive our contact, for him to become of a certain vibration, as a result of his thinking. This is greatly speeded by involvement in groups such as this. and then it is finally done through meditation. In other words, the verbal communications given to the entity by the channels such as this one create a system of thought and a desire for spiritual awareness that raises his vibration. We of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the Infinite Creator are very sorry that we cannot step upon your soil and teach those of your people who desire our service. But, my friends, as we have said before, this would be a very great disservice to those who do not desire our service at this time, and we are afraid we would have little effect in bringing understanding even to those who desire it. For understanding, my friends, comes from within. We can only guide, we can only suggest. We are attempting to do this in such a way that the seeking of the individual will be stimulated to turning his thinking inward to that single source of love and understanding, the Creator, that is part of us all. Part of everything that exists, for everything that exists, my friends, is the Creator. We are very privileged to have you join with us in this great service at this time in the history of your planet. For this is a very great time, a great transitional period, in which many of the Earth's people will be raised from their state of confusion to a simple understanding, the love of their Creator. Hatton speaks of our desire to seek something outside the physical illusion. What he talks about so persuasively is something that is often referred to by members of what Ra calls the Confederation of Planets in the service of the Infinite Creator as the original thought. This is another term for our word. Love, but implies a great deal more. It implies a unity that is so great that we do not see each other simply as close friends, or brothers and sisters, but, ideally, as the Creator, and, as we see each other and ourselves as the Creator, we see one being. This concept is at the very heart of telepathy, and Hatton talks about this concept and the original thought in general. At this time I am in a craft far above your place of dwelling. I am at this time able to monitor your thoughts. This, my friends, might seem to some of your peoples to be an infringement, but I can assure you that it is not. Our capabilities of knowing the thinking of the peoples of this planet Earth are not designed in any way to infringe upon either their thinking or their activities. We do not consider the knowledge of the thoughts of others to be an infringement, for we see these thoughts as our own. We see these thoughts as the thoughts of the Creator. My friends, it may seem to you that a thought of a nature other than one of love and brotherhood might be a thought generated not of our Creator. This is not possible, my friends. All thought that is generated by the Creator. All things that are generated by the Creator. He is all things and is in all places, and all of the consciousness and all of the thought that exists is the thought of our Creator. His infinite number of parts all have free will, and all may generate in any way they choose. All of his parts communicate with all of the creation, in his entire and infinite sense. We are not attempting to change the thinking of our Creator, we are only attempting to bring his ideas to some of the more isolated parts for their inspection and appraisal. Isolated parts, I say, my friends, and why should we consider these parts to be isolated? We consider them isolated because from our point of view they have chosen to wander far from the concept that we have found to permeate most of the parts of the creation with which we are familiar. We find, my friends, that man upon planet Earth in his experiences and experiments has become isolated in his thinking and has divorced it from that to which we are accustomed in the vast reaches of creation which we have experienced. I urge you, my friends, to remember what we have brought to you. The next time that you are, shall we say, backed into a corner by the circumstances which prevail within the illusion of your physical existence, remember what you have learned and do not forget what you have worked so hard to obtain. You will choose at any time to alter your needs and desires from within the physical illusion to your being within the creation of the Father. As long as your objectives lie within this physical illusion, it will be necessary for you to be subject to the laws which prevail within this illusion. If your desires can be altered by the application of what you are learning and are lifted in the creation of the Infinite One, then, my friends, you may have a great deal more ability to remove yourself from the corners into which the illusion seems to back you. To some who may read these words, the concepts may seem to be a less than practical and certainly overly idealistic method of discussing what many have called the New Age or the Age of Aquarius. It certainly seems unlikely that an entire planet could go so wrong philosophically, and that being supposedly more advanced than we would care enough about us to attempt to help us. However, as we look for the heart of the cosmic system of philosophy, we find much that is clear and simple without being simplistic in the least, much that is ethical without being dogmatic, in short, much that is informative. Here Hatton speaks of the nature of reality, which, in the main, seems to have escaped the notice of Earthman. My friends, man on earth has become very short-sighted in appreciation of the creation. He does not understand the true meaning of the simple and beautiful life that surrounds him. He does not appreciate its generation and regeneration. He learns that the very atmosphere that he breathes is cycled through the plant life to be regenerated to support him and his fellow beings and creatures. And yet this seems to the vast majority of those who dwell upon this planet to be an exercise in technology rather than one in theology. There is no awareness of the Creator's plan to provide for his children, to provide for their every desire and to provide a state of perfection. Man on earth has lost the awareness that is rightfully his. And why, my friends, has he lost this awareness? He has lost this because he has focused his attention upon devices and inventions of his own. He has become hypnotized by his playthings and his ideas. He is but a child in his mind. All of this may be very simply remedied, and man can once more return to an appreciation of reality rather than an appreciation of the illusion created by his mind. All that is necessary, my friends, is that he individually avail himself to this appreciation of reality through the process of meditation. For this process stills his active conscious mind, which is continually seeking stimulus within the illusion developed over so many centuries of time upon planet Earth. Very rapidly, then, he can return to an appreciation of the reality in the functioning of the real creation. This, my friends, is what man of earth must return to if he is to know reality, this simple thought of absolute love, a thought of total unity with all his brothers regardless of how they might express themselves or whom they might be. For this is the original thought of your Creator. The creation of the Father, then, as Hatton calls it, has a very simple nature, a nature in which love is the essence of all things and of all their functions. Yet this real creation obviously is not uppermost in most of our minds because we live in a day-to-day atmosphere to which the Confederation has referred quite often as an illusion. We of the Confederation of Planets in the service of the infinite Creator have been, for many of your years, aware of many principles of reality. We are aware of these principles because we have availed ourselves to them just as the people of your planet may do. It is possible through meditation to totally reduce the illusion that you now experience that creates the separation, an illusory separation, to what it actually is, a total illusion. We have been continuing to speak to you about meditation. We have spoken to you many times about reality and about love and about understanding, and yet you do not seem to be able to overcome the illusion. The reason for the illusion, my friends, is one that man on earth has generated. He has generated it out of desire. This illusion is useful. It is very useful for those who would wish to evolve at a very rapid rate by experiencing it and by using it while within it. Many of us who are now circling your planet would desire to have the opportunity that you have, the opportunity to be within the illusion and then, through the generation of understanding, use the potentials of the illusion. This is a way of gaining progress spiritually and has been sought out by many of our brothers. I cannot overemphasize the necessity of becoming able to understand the nature of the potentials within your illusion and then, by self-analysis and meditation, reacting to that in a way that will express the thought that generated us. The thought of our Creator. This was done by the teacher whom you know as Jesus. This man recognized his position. He recognized the illusion. He understood the reason for the potentials within the illusion, and his reaction to these potentials and activities within the illusion was a reaction which was expressing the thought of the Creator, a thought of love. Keep uppermost in your mind that the illusion that you experience is an illusion, that it is surrounding you for the purpose of teaching you. It can only teach you if you become aware of its teachings. It is said that He worked his wonders in mysterious ways. This way may seem mysterious. However, it is the way of spiritual evolvement. There are many souls experiencing the illusion in which you find yourself. However, there are few using this illusion to grow. They are not doing this other than at a subliminal level because they have not availed themselves through their seeking to a knowledge of the possibility of doing this. Once an individual has become aware of the possibility of using the illusion in which he finds himself in your physical world for the progression of spiritual growth, it is necessary that he take the next step and use his knowledge to express, regardless of the potentials which affect him, the love and understanding of his Creator. As you have by now become aware, meditation is always suggested as the best means of attaining understanding, of progressing spiritually, and of understanding the nature of the illusion and the purpose for which you are experiencing it. Each person is involved in an illusion or game in which we may, if we wish, use our consciousness in meditation in such a way as to create a more rapid growth in personal evolution. But how do we bring ourselves to the point at which this process, which often seems very difficult, is grasped and begun? Desire, my friends, is the key to what you receive. If you desire it, you shall receive it. This was the Creator's plan, a plan in which all of His parts would receive exactly what they desire. My friends, often in the illusion which you now experience, it seems that you do not acquire what you desire. In fact, the opposite seems to be the case in many, many instances. It is a paradox, it seems, that such a statement should be made and that such apparent results of desire are manifested, and yet we state, without exception, that man receives exactly what he desires. Perhaps, my friends, you do not understand desire. Perhaps this understanding is not within the intellectual mind. Perhaps it will be necessary to spend time in meditation to become aware of your real desire. For, my friends, there is much, much more of you and of the creation than you presently appreciate with your intellectual abilities in your present illusion. It is very difficult for the peoples of this planet to give up their illusion, to give up their preconceived knowledge of what they believe to be cause and effect. However, this is not reality, this is illusion, born of illusion. It is a simple product of the complexity that man upon this planet has generated. Join with us in divorcing your thinking from such complexities and become aware of what has created you, everything that you experience, and everything that is thought. Become aware of your Creator, become aware of His desire, and when you know this desire you will know your own, for you and your Creator are one, and you are one with all of His parts and, therefore, all of your fellow beings throughout all of the creation. When you know His desire you will feel it, there will be no more confusion, there will be no more questions. You will have found what you have sought, you will have found love, for this is the desire of your Creator, that all of His parts express and experience the love that created you. This may be found simply, in meditation. No amount of seeking within the intellectual concepts of your people, no amount of careful planning or careful interpretation of the written or spoken word will lead you to the simple truth. The Confederation messages concentrate a great deal upon the concept of seeking and of desire, feeling that the will of each entity is absolutely central to each entity's quest for evolution. In fact, they say, free will is at the foundation of the universe. Each entity is conceived not only as being part of one unity but also as being a totally unique part of that unity. Each person's free will is quite paramount, and the Confederation's concern is always to avoid infringement upon the free will of any person. Their method of contacting man on Earth takes its form from a deep concern for this free will. We do not wish to impose our understanding of truth upon your peoples, and this would be something that we would do if we contacted them directly. We could not help it, for our very utterance of truth would be accepted by many of your peoples as being valid. We do not wish to be thought of as the ultimate representatives of the Creator's truth. We wish to give this to your peoples in such a way so that they may accept or reject this at their own will. This, as we understand it, is a necessary provision in the spiritual evolvement of all mankind, that he be, at some state of his evolution, in a position to accept or reject what is necessary for his evolution. In this way, and only in this way, can he know the truth of the Creator, that single truth that is the creation, the truth of the love of the creation. It must be realized from within, it cannot be impressed from without. We are attempting to stimulate those of your peoples who would be stimulated to seeking this truth that is within them. We have been required by our understanding of our Creator's principle to remain in hiding, for we cannot serve one individual and at the same time do a disservice to his neighbor by proving within his own mind that we exist. For many of those of planet Earth at this time do not desire to believe in or have proof of our existence. For this reason we find it necessary to speak to those who seek through channels such as this one. We find it necessary to give to those who seek that which they seek in such a way that they, for themselves, may appraise its value and accept or reject, on their own terms, those thoughts that we bring, and understand the reality of the creation in which all of us exist. Once the desire to receive this message has been developed, the messages are indeed available, not just from our group but from many so-called contactee or channeling groups around the world. Indeed, you will find little new in the cosmic system of philosophy. Those concepts are basic, profound, and simple. The Confederation has a name for one of the great goals of this system of meditation and study: understanding. Many of your peoples are at this time seeking outside their illusion. To those who seek, we offer our understanding. We do not attempt to say that we have ultimate wisdom. We only suggest that that which we have to offer may be of value, for we have found, in our experience, as we have passed through the same experiences as those of Earth, that there is a most beneficial direction in seeking to serve. We are acting through instruments such as those here tonight to give to those who seek an understanding. Our presence is meant to stimulate seeking. Through this process, we hope to contact as many of the peoples of your planet as would desire our contact. We hope in the very near future to be able to contact many more of the peoples of your planet, the peoples who would desire understanding. It is difficult to contact those people of your planet because of this, shall I say, mixture of types, but it is well worth our effort if we are able to contact but one. We will continue to act as we do now, speaking through instruments such as this one, until a sufficient number of the peoples of your planet have become aware of truth. We are constantly striving to bring, through many channels of communication, the simple message to the peoples of Earth, the simple message that will leave them with the simple understanding of all that there is, and that is love. But understanding, that understanding which shows us the love of an infinite creator, is again and again described as being possible far more easily through the processes of meditation than by any other method. There are pieces of information that are of importance and there are pieces of information that are not. Wisdom is a rather lonely matter, my friends. You must accept this truth as you acquire the burden of wisdom. That which you know, you are to be careful of, for what you know in the real creation has power, and that which you desire is all of the direction which that power will be aimed at. But have faith, my friends, in what you know and what you are learning. Feed your faith and your understanding through meditation. The further that you go along this path, my friends, the more meaningful you will find this simple statement, meditate. It begins as a simple process and, little by little, it becomes a way in which you live. Observe it as you progress along your own spiritual path. It is frequently suggested in contactee messages that the state of mind of the seeker has the opportunity of being continuously in a far more pleasant configuration than is the mind of one who is not actively engaged in pursuing a path of self-knowledge and seeking. However, there are other fruits of the path of meditation and seeking which are predictable and which engage the attention of those who channel these messages. It is to be remembered, my friends, that service to others is service to oneself. Notice that we do not say that service is like unto service to oneself. There is no similarity between others and ourselves. There is identity. There is completion and unity. Therefore, that which is felt of a negative nature towards a sheep of the flock is felt towards oneself and is felt toward the Creator. This enters the service which you attempt to give to yourself and to the Creator through service to another and causes a blot or a stain upon the perfect service you would have performed. It must be remembered that each person is a completely free entity whose independence must in no way be shaken and yet whose identity remains one with you. 1. There is only one thing of great importance for you to consider at this time, that is your personal preparation for service. You are to serve your fellow man, and, therefore, it is necessary that you prepare yourselves for this service. This, of course, my friends, is done in meditation. We cannot overemphasize the importance of meditation. Through this technique you will receive answers to all of your questions. It is difficult to realize this, but this is true. All of your questions can be reduced to an extremely simple concept. This you can become aware of in meditation. Once this has been done you will be ready to serve, just as others have served and are now serving upon your planet. Follow their example. Spend time in meditation. Qualify yourself to reach out to your fellow man and let him from the darkness of confusion that he is experiencing back into the light that he desires. One service which the Confederation sources greatly appreciate is that provided by vocal channels which are trained in groups such as the one which we have had in Louisville since 1962. They never suggest in any way that their message is unique or that salvation can only be gained by listening to that message. However, they are aware that there are many who seek that message through sources other than Orthodox religion and classical philosophy. Consequently, they are here to provide a service of making information available and can only perform their service through vocal channels. 1. This symbol indicates the separation between a quotation from one transcript and a quotation upon the same subject from another transcript. There are more people upon this planet seeking than there have been in the past. However, many are quite confused in their attempts to seek and there is a need at this time for many more channels such as this one who can receive directly the thoughts that so many of the people of this planet are seeking. We are attempting at this time to generate greater numbers of proficient vocal channels who can receive our thoughts quite readily. This requires daily meditation. This is all that is required. Daily meditation. It is assumed, of course, that as this daily meditation is performed there is a desire for our contact. As one who has participated in meditation groups for many years, may I suggest that individual meditations not include the attempt to contact Confederation sources. It is best to pursue this attempt only in a group situation, preferably a group which contains at least one experienced receiver. And always, whether meditating alone or in a group, I strongly recommend some means of tuning so that the meditation which follows will be at the highest spiritual level possible. This tuning can be accomplished in any way preferable to the meditator. The Lord's Prayer, humming or other singing or chanting, the reading of some inspirational writing, or a careful visualization of the white light of the Creator, are all useful tuning methods. Reincarnation is very basic to the Confederation message. One of the most highly regarded fruits of the meditation and seeking process is the ability of the seeker to penetrate what Ra calls the forgetting process, which occurs at the time of our birth into this incarnation, so that we might become aware of the lessons which we have to learn during this incarnation. These lessons are always along the lines of how to love better, more fully, more deeply, or with more kindness and understanding. However, each entity has unique lessons. At the time at which each of you incarnated, my friends, each of you was aware that certain lessons, hitherto unlearned, were to be the goals for achievement in this incarnation. If it seems to you that your entire incarnation within this illusion has been a series of difficulties of one particular type, then you are almost certainly aware in some manner of one of your lessons. As you can see, these lessons are not to be avoided. They are to be learned. Further, we must point out to you that when a confrontation in such a lesson has been achieved, that which separates you from understanding is most often your own thinking. Your conscious thinking processes are quite capable of being self-destructive in the sense that they may aid you to avoid the lesson that you wish in reality to learn. Therefore, as you approach a lesson, we suggest that if it is possible to achieve a temporary abeyance of the conscious, analytical processes, then you may return to the problem with a much clearer mentality, ready to learn what you came to this experience to learn, rather than only to avoid what you came to learn. We know how difficult it is to achieve the meditative state at all times, for we have been where you are and we are aware of that particular type of illusion that you call physical. We urge you, therefore, to depend on meditation of a formal kind, then to attempt a semi-meditative state at all times, and, by this, we mean simply to achieve a state of attention so that your destructive impulses are not free to clog your mind completely and keep you from learning the lessons you came to learn. Undergirding all of the lessons that we have to learn about love is the basic concept that all things are one. Meditate upon the complete unity of yourself and all that you see. Do this not once, and not simply in present circumstances, but at all times, and especially in difficult circumstances. For insofar as you love and feel at one with those things which are difficult for you, to that extent will those circumstances be alleviated. This is not due to any laws within our physical illusion, but is due to the law of love, for that body which is of spirit, which is interpenetrated with the physical body, is higher than your physical body. And those changes which you make by love upon your spiritual body will, of necessity, reflect themselves within the physical illusion. All is one, my friends. My voice is now the voice of this instrument. My thoughts are her thoughts. Please believe that the vibration we offer to you is not a vibration of personality, but is a vibration of the Creator. We are also channels. There is only one voice. Within this vibration, we are self-consciously aware that this voice is the voice of the Creator. It is simply a matter of lifting vibrations which are not so self-aware of the Creator. All things will eventually come into harmony in relation to your understanding. Even if the universe for those around you remains disharmonious and difficult, if your mind is stayed upon the unity of the Creator, your own universe will become harmonious, and this is not by your doing but by the simple love of the Creator. From many sources we have heard that we are in the last days of a particular era of evolution. Popular writers of the Christian faith have taken the writings of the Book of Revelations and analyzed them in such a way that it is suggested that the days of Armageddon are near at hand. Scientists have written many books exploring the possibility that unusual planetary configurations such as the Jupiter effect will occur now and in the year 2000, thus enlarging the possibility for Earth changes. Other scientists have examined much evidence indicating that a polar shift by the year 2000 is probable. Prophets such as Edgar Cayce have channeled information having to do with such drastic changes occurring, and in addition, of course, there are many concerns having strictly to do with the man-made potential for planetary devastation. We also have gathered information in our meetings on the subject of Earth changes. There is a season upon your planet which shall be highly traumatic within your physical illusion. The physical reasons for this are varied. Your scientists will spend a great deal of time, while they can, in attempting to catalog and describe each of the conditions which will produce disaster on this physical plane of your planet. That which your scientists speak of is quite so, and will be part of the program which has been predicted by all of those holy works which you have upon the face of the earth. It is not either permissible or possible for us to tell you precisely what events will occur, or when they will occur. due to the fact that the vibration within the mind and heart of the peoples upon your planet is determining and will determine the precise events. There is within the planet Earth a great deal of karma which must be adjusted as the cycle changes, and these things will manifest. Precisely when and how, we cannot say, nor would we wish to, my friends. For the rain, and the wind, and fire, will destroy only those things which are in what you call the third density of vibration. You may value those things because you cannot imagine what a fourth density existence will be like. We suggest to you that you spend no time concerning yourselves with the effort of maintaining your third density existence after the vibration change to fourth density has been completed. If, within your spirit, your graduation day has come, those things necessary for your emergence into fourth density will be done for you. All will be accomplished by helpers which you must be aware that you have. It is extremely possible that damage will occur to those things which you identify with yourself in the third density. If we may speak plainly, you will observe the valley of the shadow of death. These very words, my friends, have been spoken to you before, and yet you cling to the physical body and those physical surroundings as though your spirit were attached quite permanently to them. May we suggest to you that you can find your spirit neither in your head, nor in your hands, nor in your chest, nor in your legs, nor in your feet, that nowhere can you find your spirit, nowhere can you operate to remove it, nor to aid it. Your spirit resides within a shell. The shell may be removed, but that is no matter. The spirit does not perish. What is the metaphysical meaning of this suggested physical trauma of our planet? The Confederation suggests that the planet itself is moving into a new vibration, a new portion of space and time, which many have called the New Age, but into which we shall not be able to enter unless we have indeed learned the lessons of love which it has been our choice to learn or not to learn for many incarnations. Therefore, the Confederation suggests that it is very important to choose to follow the positive path or not to follow it. There is a choice to be made very shortly, and it would be preferable if all of the people of this planet understand the choice that is to be made. It will be difficult for many of the people of this planet to understand what this choice is, because it is a choice that they have not considered. They have been much too involved in their daily activities and their confusion and their desires of a very trivial nature to be concerned with an understanding of the choice that they are very shortly to make. Whether they wish to or not, whether they understand it or not, regardless of any influence, each and every one of the people who dwell upon planet Earth will shortly make a choice. There will be no middle area. There will be those who choose to follow the path of love and light and those who choose otherwise. This choice will not be made by saying, I choose the path of love and light, or I'll do not choose it. The verbal choice will mean nothing. This choice will be measured by the individual's demonstration of his choice. This demonstration will be very easy for us of the Confederation of Planets in his service to interpret. This choice is measured by what we term the vibratory weight of the individual. It is necessary, if an individual is to join those who make the choice of love and understanding, for his rate of vibration to be above a certain minimal level. There are many now that are close to this minimum level, but due to continuing conditions of erroneous thought that prevail upon your surface, they are either fluctuating around this point or are even in some cases drifting away from the path of love and understanding. There are many whose vibratory weight at this time is sufficiently high for them to travel with no difficulty into the density of vibration that this planet is shortly to experience.
Okay, so I'm going to leave it there before we start part 3 in the next video. We're really getting into the good stuff. Ra is trying to explain how the entire planet is moving from 3D to 4D to 5D and what's involved as us as beings to move with the planet into these different dimensions. And basically it's through love, and it's not just serving yourself but in serving others. So people that are hateful, deceitful, self-serving, anyone who hurts others will not move forward to 4D and 5D until they can fix that within themselves and learn the lessons that they need to learn, why they came here to learn before they can move on. So it's not really being explained too much in depth yet, but that's where we're going. So let's get into the next video where we actually hear the questions and answers directly from Ra, and that's coming up. I'll see you in the next video, guys.